Welcome to the Rewards Master. If you would, hit that like and subscribe button. That helps me as I'm marching towards 500 subscribers. And today we're going to talk about what is, at the same time, in my mind, one of my favorite and one of my least favorite travel credit cards, because I use it for a very specific couple use cases. And that's it. And that's the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Very, very popular. Always recommended. Definitely some pros, definitely some cons. So hit that like and subscribe button and let's dive right in. The Chase Sapphire Preferred is one of the most promoted and also, in my opinion at least, one of the most controversial credit cards because it is super powerful in some ways, because it kind of is your gateway into the Chase ecosystem, kind of bigger things and bigger rewards. And you know, Chase is one of the best when it comes to point values and their transfer partners. And there's just so many reasons why people recommend it, why it's so good. But on the flip side of that, the card itself really is kind of bad. But yet I have a specific use case for it. So let's talk about the pros and cons. Well, first of all, the card is $95 a year, which, you know, if people use what they call the Chase trifecta, and I don't use trifectas based upon a particular issuer because I like to have points spread across many issuers. So that way, if there's transfer bonuses, I always have points I can get that extra boost. But if you were just to have one, Chase is pretty much probably the best just one to have. And they have great transfer partners. They have, you know, Hyatt, and they have United, and they have Southwest, although I wouldn't say those two are great, but they are very, very usable, especially for people that aren't kind of at what I would call the tier 3, 4, or 5 level of this game. And there'll be a video linked at the end if you want to watch to determine exactly what tier of the credit card game that you're in. But $95 a year, you also get a kind of a $50 credit back for hotels booked through the portal. I've used that. It's really easy to use. So really, it's kind of $45 a year. That's not very much. The reason this card's essential, and you can't just have like the Freedom Unlimited for a catch-all, although it's not a great catch-all because it's 1.5 on everything, or the Freedom Flex, which really is a great card because they have those 5% rotating categories. Well, you have to have this one or its big brother, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, because you've got to have access to the transfer partners. This card also gives 1.25 in the travel portal. That is utterly meaningless to me because I never, unless I'm trying to get back like the Capital One credit that has to be used in the travel portal, I never, ever, ever book through a travel portal because I do not like the problems when there are not to have booked through the airline. So $95 a year, get the $50 back. You get access to the transfer partners, and the transfer partners include Hyatt, which among hotels is the best transfer partner there is. There's no doubt. It's 1.25 if you use a travel portal. It's a good card for $45 effective annual fee. But the downside is that, man, the card is a dog when it comes to earning. I mean, it earns 1 point on everything. It earns 2 points like on some travel and, you know, like rideshare type stuff. You get that boost on streaming. And then you get 3 points per dollar on dining. Well, 3 points per dollar on dining is kind of the standard. You can get that on dozens and dozens and dozens of cards, including the no annual fee little brothers, the Freedom Flex and the Freedom Unlimited. So that's just a nothing burger. I mean, it's not a good earner. So that's the downside. To me, the reason I keep it in my wallet, and I will always have it, or I guess in a certain circumstance, I might upgrade to the big brother, the Reserve. But the reason I'll always have this is I've got to have access to Chase's transfer partners, period. So I've got to have a card that gives me that. So either this or, you know, the little more expensive ink card will give you that, or the Reserve. So I'm going to keep one of those cards in my wallet all the time. But the real reason that I use this card is I only pull it out of my wallet and actually use it. Now, I do have some streaming stuff that goes on it every month, so it's active. But I really only use this card ever when we're traveling outside of the United States. And I have cards, many cards, that would give me better multipliers. No foreign transaction fee, which the Chase Sapphire Preferred doesn't have a foreign transaction fee, obviously. And I have other ones that would give me more on dining, and we do a lot of dining when we're traveling overseas, on hotels, other stuff. But the reason I use this one is just kind of experience and personal, you know, what I've been through and what I've seen. And that is, this card is just a absolutely dependable travel card. And I think it's because it's a Chase card. It has no foreign transaction fees. And I have used this card in dozens of countries and never had a single issue. Sometimes some of the other cards, you'll start getting fraud alerts, or you'll start getting, now I have no doubt Chase is going to protect me from fraud, but those fraud alerts that are like oversensitive when you're overseas are a real pain in the behind, because man, then you got to call and you're not in the same country or in the same time zone, and you've got to deal with it. And if you can't get your card restored, then you're out of card. You got to switch to another card or have them FedEx you one overseas, or, I mean, it's a nightmare. This card always works, and the rewards they're okay. They're not anything to write home about, but they're all right. But when I'm traveling outside the United States, I want dependability. And so this is my dedicated when we're on a trip card. I also like to use one because when we get home, then it's easy for me to kind of add up what we've spent and different categories, because I budget out our travel based upon this much for food, this much for excursions, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that is my use for this card. So in this series, I'm talking about my favorite cards. It makes me a little bit kind of hold my nose a little bit to say this one's one of my favorite cards, because it really is only my favorite for two reasons: transfer partners with Chase, and because it's just such a workhorse when it comes to overseas travel. Part of that's because of the card, but most of it's because it's a Chase card and no foreign transaction fees. So that's my use case for it. I do have a referral link down below if you're interested in this card. It has a, you know, kind of the typical sign up bonus, but it's a good one if you're especially just getting started off. Not the best, but if you're going to do overseas travel like me, I think it's really, really a winner for that purpose. All right, let me know what you think. This is a popular card. Many of you have it. I'd love to hear your opinions on it. Am I wrong? Is it just great all the way around? Or are my critiques correct? Let me know what you think, and we'll see you here next time.